Imagine for a moment a powerful verse that once echoed through the ages, yet now lies hidden, shrouded in mystery. What if I told you that this verse held the key to understanding profound truths, but was deliberately excised from the pages of the Bible? Why would anyone want to silence such a message? As we delve deeper, you might find yourself questioning everything you've ever learned about Scripture. What secrets does this removal reveal about the very foundations of faith? What were the consequences of this act, not just for the text itself, but for generations of believers? Picture the scholars and leaders who made this decision. Were they protecting the faithful, or was there a darker motive lurking beneath the surface? Each twist and turn in this story raises more questions than answers, keeping you on the edge of your seat. Stay with me as we unravel this enigma together. Prepare yourself for a journey that challenges your perceptions and invites you to explore the untold narratives that shape the Bible as we know it today. Are you ready to uncover the truth hidden in plain sight? Let's dive in. Historical and cultural context. As I delve into the historical and cultural context of the Bible's compilation, I can't help but feel a sense of awe at the intricate tapestry of beliefs and practices that shaped it. The environment during the time of its formation was anything but homogeneous. It was a melting pot of traditions, especially those rooted in Judaism. The influence of Jewish customs, laws, and narratives is evident throughout the texts, serving as a foundation upon which early Christian thought was built. It's fascinating to consider how the early followers of Jesus navigated their Jewish identities while establishing a new faith. The controversies that arose among different Christian groups during this period add another layer of complexity to the narrative. Various factions, such as the Gnostics and the Montanists, each had their interpretations and beliefs, leading to heated debates over doctrine and authority. These discussions were not merely academic, they were deeply personal and often resulted in significant schisms within the early church. As I reflect on this, I recognize that the Bible was not just a collection of sacred texts, but a battleground for theological ideas and social dynamics. Moreover, the political climate of the time cannot be overlooked. The Roman Empire exerted tremendous influence over the region, and early Christians often found themselves at odds with the prevailing power structures. The persecution of Christians added urgency to the need for a cohesive set of beliefs and texts, which contributed to the canon's formation. It's intriguing to ponder how external pressures helped shape the internal landscape of Christian thought. The cultural milieu also played a role in shaping the biblical narrative. The interaction between Greek philosophy and Jewish thought led to a rich exchange of ideas that influenced how the scriptures were interpreted. I often find myself considering how these cultural exchanges enriched the texts, but also posed challenges to early believers. It was a time of profound transformation, and the Bible reflects that journey. Finally, understanding this historical and cultural backdrop offers valuable insights into the motivations of those who compiled and canonized the texts. It's a reminder that the Bible is not just a static document, but a living testament to the struggles, beliefs, and aspirations of countless individuals throughout history. The canons of the Bible. When I think about the formation of the biblical canon, I'm struck by the meticulous process that went into determining which books made the cut. It wasn't a simple matter of picking favorites. There were rigorous criteria that early church leaders had to consider. They looked for apostolic authority, consistency with established doctrine, and widespread acceptance among the Christian communities. Each book had to prove its worthiness in a variety of ways, which makes me appreciate the effort and thought that went into this undertaking. One aspect that fascinates me is the sheer number of texts that were vying for inclusion. Imagine being part of a community where various letters, gospels, and teachings circulated, each claiming legitimacy. The debates must have been intense, as each faction championed its preferred writings. I often wonder how different our understanding of Christianity might be if other texts had been included in the canon. As I explore the exclusions, I feel a sense of intrigue about what those omitted books might have contained. Some texts, like the Gospel of Thomas, offered alternative perspectives on Jesus' teachings. The decision to exclude these writings speaks volumes about the theological priorities of the early church. It's a reminder that the canon is as much about what is included as it is about what is left out. The eventual acceptance of certain texts over others was not merely a theological decision, it was also a political one. The formation of the canon coincided with the consolidation of power within the church, and the texts that were chosen often reflected the authority of those in leadership roles. It's fascinating to consider how power dynamics influenced the very scriptures that millions would come to revere. Ultimately, the process of canon formation serves as a testament to the vibrant and often contentious nature of early Christian communities. It's a reminder that the Bible is a product of its time, shaped by the struggles and aspirations of those who sought to define their faith in a rapidly changing world. Controversial verses and passages. Throughout history, certain verses and passages in the Bible have sparked considerable debate and controversy. These texts, often removed or contested, hold significant theological implications. For instance, the Gospel of Thomas, a non-canonical text, contains sayings attributed to Jesus that differ markedly from those found in the canonical Gospels. Scholars argue that such differences challenge traditional understandings of Christ's teachings and the nature of his divinity. It raises the question, what if these alternative perspectives had been included in the biblical canon? Some passages, like those discussing the role of women in the church, have been heavily scrutinized. The removal or exclusion of verses that promote gender equality has had a lasting impact on Christian doctrine and practice. These exclusions often reflect the cultural norms of the time, which prioritized male leadership and authority. Consequently, the omission of these texts has contributed to ongoing debates regarding gender roles within Christianity, highlighting a historical bias that remains relevant today. Additionally, verses pertaining to themes of love, forgiveness, and inclusion have been contested. Take, for example, the parable of the Good Samaritan, which challenges societal boundaries and prejudices. The exclusion or minimization of such narratives can lead to a narrower understanding of Christian ethics, limiting the faith's capacity to address modern social issues. The implications of these omissions extend beyond theological debate, influencing how communities interpret and live out their faith in diverse contexts. The impact of these controversial passages is not confined to academic circles. They resonate with ordinary believers grappling with their faith. Many individuals find themselves questioning the integrity of their sacred texts when confronted with the idea that certain verses may have been intentionally omitted. This questioning can lead to a deeper exploration of one's beliefs, prompting a reevaluation of what it means to be a follower of Christ in today's world. In essence, the identification and discussion of controversial verses challenge us to reconsider the narratives we uphold. They encourage a more nuanced understanding of Scripture, inviting us to engage with the complexities of faith and the historical processes that shaped our religious texts. The journey through these passages not only enriches our knowledge, but also deepens our spiritual reflection and commitment. Motivations for removal. The reasons behind the removal of certain verses from the Bible are multifaceted, encompassing political, religious, and social dimensions. One significant factor has been the desire for orthodoxy. Early church leaders sought to establish a cohesive doctrine, often at the expense of alternative interpretations that could threaten the unity of the faith. This quest for a singular narrative led to the exclusion of texts that did not align with the emerging orthodoxy, reflecting the power dynamics within the early Christian community. Political motivations also played a critical role in the exclusion of certain verses. As Christianity became intertwined with state power, leaders often sought to control religious narratives that could challenge their authority. The removal of texts that advocated for social justice or critiqued the ruling class can be seen as an attempt to maintain the status quo. This political manipulation of Scripture raises ethical questions about the integrity of religious leadership and the potential for misuse of spiritual authority. Social factors, including cultural norms and prevailing attitudes, influenced the decision to exclude certain passages. For instance, texts that challenge traditional gender roles or advocate for the marginalized were often set aside as society clung to patriarchal structures. This exclusion not only reflects the biases of the time, but also perpetuates a cycle of inequality within religious communities. Understanding these social motivations is crucial for comprehending the broader implications of canon formation. Moreover, debates over heresy also contributed to the removal of specific verses. Early Christians were deeply concerned about divergent beliefs that could lead to division within the community. Consequently, texts that were deemed heretical were often dismissed, regardless of their theological merit. This fear of fragmentation often stifled intellectual exploration and dialogue, limiting the richness of early Christian thought. Ultimately, examining the motivations behind the removal of these verses reveals a complex interplay of power, belief, and societal norms. It challenges us to reflect on how contemporary issues of inclusion and representation continue to shape our understanding of Scripture. By acknowledging these motivations, we can engage in a more informed and critical dialogue about the texts that have shaped our faith and the ongoing implications of their exclusion. Evidences of textual and manuscript variants. When delving into the ancient manuscripts that have survived the sands of time, it's fascinating to discover how they illuminate the complexities surrounding the Bible. We often think of the Scriptures as a static text, but the reality is that numerous versions exist, each telling a slightly different story. These manuscripts, such as the Dead Sea Scrolls or the Codex Sinaiticus, have revealed verses that were either omitted in later versions or presented in a different light. It's like peeling back layers of an onion, each revealing a little more about the original intent and context of the Scripture. For instance, the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls in the mid-20th century was monumental. Scholars found texts that predate the traditional manuscripts we often refer to today. Some of these texts contained passages that were previously unknown or significantly varied in their wording. This has led to intense debates among theologians and historians about the authenticity and authority of the biblical texts we hold dear. The variations often provoke questions about what was deemed acceptable or heretical in the early church. Another intriguing aspect is how these manuscript discoveries have prompted revisions in modern translations of the Bible. As scholars compare the ancient texts with contemporary versions, it becomes evident that the nuances in language can shift meanings subtly yet significantly. This exercise not only highlights the richness of the biblical tradition, but also challenges readers to engage with the Scriptures more deeply, recognizing that what we have today is the result of a long and often contentious history. Moreover, the existence of these variants can lead to a re-evaluation of certain doctrines within Christianity. If a verse that supports a particular theological stance is absent from older manuscripts, it raises questions about that doctrine's foundation. This doesn't necessarily mean that the faith is undermined, but rather that it invites believers to explore a more nuanced understanding of their beliefs. In essence, the study of textual evidence in ancient manuscripts is a reminder of the living nature of Scripture. It encourages us to embrace the complexities of our faith and to appreciate the diverse tapestry of interpretations that have emerged throughout history. This ongoing dialogue between the past and present is crucial for a robust understanding of the biblical narrative. Theological and spiritual implications. The removal of certain verses from the Bible carries significant theological implications that resonate deeply within contemporary faith communities. When verses that speak to the nature of God, human existence, or moral guidance are omitted, it can lead to a void in understanding essential doctrines. For many believers, these omissions can result in a diluted experience of their faith, as they may find themselves grappling with unanswered questions about divine attributes or ethical living. Consider how the absence of specific verses can impact the interpretation of grace and salvation. For instance, if certain texts that elucidate God's mercy and justice are excluded, it may lead to a skewed perception of what it means to be in relationship with the divine. Believers might struggle with feelings of inadequacy or fear, rather than embracing the fullness of grace that the Scriptures promise. This highlights the importance of engaging with the entire breadth of biblical text, as every word contributes to a richer understanding of one's faith. Furthermore, the theological implications extend to the communal aspect of faith. When congregations gather to worship or study, the shared text often forms the basis for their collective beliefs and practices. If significant verses are omitted from their understanding, It can create divisions in interpretation and practice, leading to varied expressions of faith within the same community. This divergence can sometimes foster confusion or conflict as individuals navigate differing theological landscapes. On a spiritual level, the removal of certain passages can affect personal devotion and the way individuals relate to Scripture. Many believers find solace, guidance, and inspiration in specific verses. Their absence can create a sense of loss or disconnection. This underscores the essential role that Scripture plays in shaping spiritual practice and how the ongoing conversation about what is included or excluded remains vital for nurturing a vibrant faith life. Ultimately, the implications of these omissions challenge us to seek a deeper relationship with the text and, by extension, with God. They invite believers to explore the richness of the biblical narrative, encouraging a quest for understanding that transcends the limitations of a singular interpretation. In doing so, the faith community can continue to grow, adapt, and flourish in its spiritual journey, even amidst the complexities of textual history. As we dive deeper into this extraordinary tale, let's reflect on the implications of the verses that have been set aside, lost in the pages of history. What if I told you that these words, once deemed too controversial, could have changed the way we view faith and morality today? Imagine the conversations we could be having if these verses were part of our everyday lives. Now, I want you to think about your own beliefs. How often do we question the narratives that shape our understanding? Are there aspects of your faith that you've never fully explored? Each removed verse is a reminder that our spiritual journey is not just about acceptance, but also about inquiry. So what do you think? Should we reclaim these lost words? Or are there reasons they were left behind? Dive into the comments and share your thoughts. And if you found this story as fascinating as I did, stick around for our next adventure where we'll uncover more secrets hidden within the pages of the Bible. You won't want to miss what we have in store. Remember, the journey through history is always more exciting when we question everything. Until next time, keep exploring. Have you ever stopped to think about the contradictions in the Bible and how they might impact your understanding of faith? If you're seeking answers and wish to deepen your knowledge of the nuances in Scripture, you can't miss Shadows of Scripture, the hidden contradictions of the Bible. This book unveils surprising insights that will transform the way you see the sacred texts. Don't stay in doubt. Discover the hidden truth. Click the link in the pinned comment and start your journey of knowledge now.